StarWars.com website and YouTube channel. We discuss cons, theme parks, collecting, and other fun stuff. It's April 9th, 2022. I'm your host, Sean. I'm here with Carmel.
Hi there.
Parks and Cons, your on-spot podcast. We take the heart of the action, best conventions and themed entertainment events around. Today we are recording at the Anaheim Convention Center, which in 47 days will be home to the biggest celebration of Star Wars that maybe we've ever seen. After a pandemic, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement. We'll see, but regardless, it will be the home of this year's Star Wars Celebration 2022. After it, like all conventions, has been delayed, it is finally the return, and we're right around the corner. And I know for myself, it's been hard to think about much else in the things I'm looking forward around, because I'm super amped to get back to San Diego Comic-Con and so many things just in general. But Star Wars Celebration, I mean, the last time you and I were at Celebration was 2015, and it's when it was in Anaheim. And so it's been a long time since you and I have been at the convention. Had an incredible time. It's something so unique about Celebration if you've not been before, because you have this big convention in the size, not that it's the same size as the San Diego, but it's that style of a show. It's a big old convention center show. But to have a big convention center show where everybody there loves one thing, it's everybody there is because they love Star Wars. Some may be more on the animated side, some may be more prequels or original trilogy or whatever trilogy. But at the end of the day, everybody there loves Star Wars. And so we wanted to come out to the Anaheim Convention Center here and do a show and kind of talk about a little bit of what we know so far of what's coming up, because there's a lot that's been released just in the last few days here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is very unique. And it's also kind of unique for us because it's one of the only shows I think that we've only attended once at this point, and it's been so long since we have, and we loved it, but we weren't able to get out to Orlando or was it Chicago?
Yeah, it was in Chicago last time in 2019. I believe whatever the one after 2015 was in Orlando, we had applied as press, and I think it's the only thing we've ever applied as press that we then weren't able to make the show. We're not the people to take time with those applications and then not show up, but we had fully planned to go, and just the finances of it just didn't work out, and we weren't able to make it out there to Orlando to cover it. And so it's now been 7 years since our last time at a Star Wars Celebration, and so couldn't be more excited about it. And it's been really neat seeing all of the information finally kind of hitting. I mean, it's a very small amount of time, and it feels like every day there's a new celebration announcement of something, and there's going to be a lot more. I mean, by the time that this goes on to our podcast feed for our audio only listeners, this may be a little bit outdated already, but hopefully for those that tune in, either way, there'll still be some interesting information. There's definitely going to be things that we can fully talk about that have been revealed so far, and we'll also talk a little bit about some things we're looking forward to, because some of the things I'm most excited about Star Wars Celebration for have not been announced yet, and I don't know if they're going to be a part of it or not, but we'll talk about that as well as we get into it then. So
yeah, I think they'll spend time looking at their social and the website to try to get as much of the information as possible. I think in part for me at least, I was wanting to catch up on just kind of what's been announced, what have I missed and stuff, and then kind of wanted to come here and give a digested version, I guess, and share what we found, and kind of go that route and try to provide some help and save you the time to site and all those things.
We are here out at the Convention Center on another windy day. I feel like every time we record at the Convention Center, it's super windy, and our papers go flying everywhere for our notes and stuff. So I'll apologize in advance if at some point one of us has to run off to go grab something. That's already happened once before we started recording. But there's a big engineering and cheerleader mashup convention here. So you may, if you're watching on YouTube, you may either see cheerleaders behind us or engineers studying away. But that's and actually there's an Herbalife or something like that convention going on inside the Marriott. So it's a different mix of convention goers than what we're normally surrounded by. But the fountains behind us will be filled with cosplayers. Going back to Star Wars Celebration 2015, it was some of my favorite cosplay too. Is you'd see a Kenner Walrus Man, 1977 figure as a cosplay and things like that. It was just so fantastic there, and so glad to see it there. So Andrew's tuning in with us live, and he's wondering if D23 is going to scrape off some of the content, and I think that is going to definitely happen. I mean, I'd be really surprised if there's not some of that kind of ties into all of that in terms of the D23 always gets a little bit of everything, and I think it'll probably impact San Diego Comic-Con for sure, particularly on the Marvel side, but I think also, yeah, that we'll definitely see some things saved. I'd be really surprised if there's not.
Yeah, and he mentioned that there's some wind noise, and I don't think there's anything we can do about that for the live version, but hopefully for the audio podcast version, it's not too bad. So if not, hopefully I'll be able to edit it in a way that it's not too bad, but again, I can't really do anything about that on the live aspect of things. Sorry, Andrew, but yeah, hopefully the audio version will be fine for the podcast part.
So let's start with tickets available. So as of this time, there are still tickets available for Thursday and Sunday. So if you are looking to grab badges, and as of this recording, those are both available. The big, $900 Jedi Master is sold out long ago. The weekend passes also sold out. They did do a resale. All of that stuff sold out. The Friday and Saturday have sold out as well. But there's still some great things on Thursday and Sunday as well.
And also, there is going to be an opportunity, if you want one of those tickets that are gone, you can get, I believe, on a wait list, and people who aren't able to attend or have duplicate tickets or whatever are able to return their tickets, and then you'll be able to buy them through a company that Celebration is using. So if you haven't gotten those tickets that you want, getting on that wait list may be an option. I know we have at least one friend who initially got just a couple days and then decided she wanted a weekend, so now she has a couple extra ticket situations, so she's going to be returning things. And then we bought our tickets before getting approved for press, and so we'll probably be doing that as well. Yeah. So Celebration is trying to take any power away from scalpers and things, so they're providing this service so that you can legitimately purchase the tickets through this third-party option. And so if you are wanting to get those, that is an option. And I believe we know of at least a few tickets that are going to be definitely returned. So that is an option and something that you may want to consider doing if you're looking for those tickets that have already sold out.
Yeah, and I think the particular situation and this leads us to the next thing of just kind of some of the COVID-specific aspects of things. There is the rule of vaccination being required if you're over 5 years old, is it? Let's see, Star Wars Celebration 2022 will require proof of vaccination for all ages 5 and up from an FDA or WHO approved authorized vaccine. Also, there's the mask requirement in place, and both of those we know, and we talked to a lot of people with WonderCon, that for a lot of people that became a thing of just like, well, I'll just wait until I can go, and there's not that type of requirement. Now, Celebration's very different from WonderCon, because WonderCon you can just say, well, I'll wait till next year, or I'll wait till the next big con. Celebration is a really unique show, so I don't know that as many people will do that, but I do know, all you have to do is go on to any, message group, and you'll see several people saying that they're going to turn their tickets in because they just aren't interested in spending a weekend with those types of requirements and stuff. So regardless of anything else, I do think there will be a number of tickets that still show up for available, but I would imagine those will go pretty fast as well. Do not go to eBay for them. Make sure to go through the official sources so you know that you actually have a good ticket, and especially they have a nice system set up, so might as well use it.
Definitely, and just as a little note in regards to the COVID, and 5 and under need negative tests.
Yeah.
So they're the only ones who aren't required to have the vaccine, and they do still require a negative test. And yeah, as having just done WonderCon in masks all weekend, it's not the most comfortable thing. I mean, I definitely put it on it a few times, or during WonderCon, obviously I had it on, but in other locations where it's not required, I'm still carrying my mask around and still putting them on when I get into situations that it's crowded or those types of things. When we go to the movies or when we go to panels or whatever, I'm wearing masks. But yeah, I for one would rather have the option, but yeah, it doesn't matter what I think. It is a requirement, and maybe they'll change it, but they've been it's stated very clearly that masks are going to be required, so it seems unlikely they're going to change their mind on that. So yeah, just find your comfortable mask and deal with it. But yeah, I think definitely the experience of being there and being among so many fans and enjoying ourselves is definitely, like it did for WonderCon, going to outweigh the uncomfortable aspects of having to wear masks all the time.
100%. So there should be ways to get tickets, even if you're listening to this a little bit later on out there. But eventually there's going to be no doubt that it will be fully sold out. And, people that are looking a week or two out, just aren't going to have any options for participating in the show. So the earlier that you can look into that, the better in getting on those wait lists if you need to do that. Now, in terms of the convention center itself, did just want to say, so it is at the Anaheim Convention Center. We are going to do our visual guide to this area, something similar to what we did with WonderCon, but we'll also add in the details that we have for the convention specifically as more of that gets revealed. So we have that in our calendar. We'll see when we actually record it, depending on when they put all of that information out. But we know that it's this, maybe a different crowd than we have for WonderCon in terms of all that are going to be attending. The Marriott and Hilton are both here with available resources and stuff, but they were under a lot of pressure just with WonderCon, particularly on Saturday as things got busier. So not sure if they're going to have all the food trucks out, for celebration or not, or what, but there's definitely...
There will be food trucks, I mean...
We'll see. Yeah, I don't recall that being a part of celebration here in general, but we'll see. I mean, in the end, it's going to be what it is, but the area itself is still, in a bit of a depressed state with, the pandemic and that recovery. So, but we'll have a video guide to all that and talk about that. One thing, that, and it kind of tethers, though, to the convention center stuff is we have noticed all the way back in November, the Anaheim Convention Center staff itself does not seem really, wearing masks is not a huge thing to them in general. All the way back in November at DesignerCon, we noticed a lot of the staff at the convention center wasn't wearing that. I know in talkback for WonderCon that some people complained about some of the compliance with masks at WonderCon, and I believe the comment was made, at least that's how we had heard it, was that they can't control, everybody in the convention center that works in different parts of it. They can control their convention, and that's about it. So that being said, be aware, alert for that as well. If you're concerned with that, but you may find some people that just has the convention center staff, and that's kind of a different part of the whole event as well. Okay, so now let's talk about a little bit of what we know so far with panels, because they have announced some of the big panels. They haven't announced any of the smaller stuff yet, which is actually where a lot of my interest lies, but I am also really interested in this. So far, they've given us 3 big panels to watch for each of the days, and we're going to talk about their, lottery system and all that in a moment here as well. But Thursday, the big focus is Lucasfilm's live action, and they tease in particular Kenobi, Andor, and Mando will all be part of that. So we know that at least those 3. It doesn't say anything about Boba Fett or any of these other terms of live action things that have been kind of teased in the past. I would imagine, though, there will be some surprises there. It would seem to make sense with Kenobi coming out that weekend, or coming out that Friday, that's going to be kind of the lean-in for the whole weekend, that Kenobi will be like the big thing. And back to, Andrew's point about D23, I would imagine whatever they're going to have coming later, maybe that's Andor is going to get even more of a focus there, or maybe new reveals at that point. But Lucasfilm Thursday, they have those things. Now Friday, they have empty. They've not announced any big panels for Friday. There's going to be something there. Is it going to be for Fallen Order 2? Is it going to be something related to the High Republic? If you've not been following, they've been doing a really big push on the publishing side with High Republic. I kind of think it's going to be both. It's going to be a video game and publishing side, maybe particularly giving those a push. We'll see. But Friday is kind of the question mark there. Saturday, Mando Plus. I love the title of the panel, Mando Plus, because in a lot of ways, wasn't that how Disney Plus was built, on the Mandalorian's back at first, or maybe more so little baby Yoda there. But Mando Plus, a conversation with Favreau and Filoni. So they are going to be talking all things Mando universe there, looking back and looking forward. And then on Sunday, ending things, the big panel is Bad Batch, the Disney Plus animated show there. So I would imagine there's going to be a lot more tied into those. I would imagine there's going to be some fun, secrets in all of that as well. But that is the, main fix there. Now, let's talk then about the kind of lottery system they use. And I am, so not a fan of the lottery systems for panels, exclusives, for any of that, but I very much understand that's just part of the world we live in, and it is what it is. But they say in advance to make sure to activate your badge, and this is all from the FAQ on the Star Wars Celebration website. And then it talks about participating in the reservation process, and it says Star Wars Celebration will be full of exciting surprises this year. To participate in an opportunity to attend a limited panel or experience, purchase exclusive merchandise, or make advanced panel reservations, check back here in the coming weeks for detailed instructions. We encourage you to follow us on social media. What I would imagine this is going to be is the return of Lightspeed, which this is from 2019 in the last Star Wars Celebration. The exact wording here: StarWars.com is excited to announce Lightspeed virtual panel reservations and Lightspeed lane virtual queuing presented by ThinkGeek. new systems that will make access to Celebration Chicago's biggest panels, shows, store, and exhibitor exclusives easier than ever before. And so, Lightning Lane Plus, Genie Plus, Light Speed. If you're a Disney Parks fan, some of these things sound very similar. And so there will be, again, the return of a virtual system where you're going to put your information in. So make sure to have your badge activated and ready to go in advance. And I'm sure this is all going to be well, published in advance on their social media. But then you're going to put in for those priorities, and it's always something, it's hard to know the strategy with all these. We've seen with San Diego, they don't do it with panels, but they do it with exclusives, and there's a lot to be said for kind of, hammering out what's a strategy and working with other people to see, like, are they going to let us book extra spots, or if it's exclusives, or do we want to be all in on this one thing, or do we want to put multiples? I mean, it's kind of like you get so many chances, and in the end, lottery's a lottery, and you hope for the best. But that's all we have on it so far. But it is, it's always unfortunate. I always say this about, like, to use San Diego as an example. I probably wouldn't go for a Lego exclusive, and it's always unfortunate if I just randomly get one, because it's like, well, I took it from somebody that really would have wanted it, whereas maybe I really would have wanted the Hasbro exclusive that I didn't win. So now I have to take my Lego exclusive and try to trade it for the Hasbro thing, or I sell it to get the money to buy the Hasbro thing on eBay, and it just makes it so much more convoluted than just the old lay on the floor and wait in line. But that is the world we live in now.
Yeah, and I don't know, just as an example of how the whole random thing works, like for with D23, I think it was 2019 panels and all those things, exclusives for a lottery, and the two of us, got completely blanked out and didn't get anything, whereas we have a couple friends who literally got everything they wanted. So they loved the lottery system because they got everything they wanted. We did not get anything, like literally anything that we wanted, and so it's lottery, it's random, and those are obviously two extreme ends, and I'm sure there was lots and lots and lots of people who were somewhere in the middle and got some of what they wanted, some of what they didn't. But in these two extreme examples, same system, same everything, we got nothing, they got everything. It was a little frustrating to when they were talking about how much they love the system, and it's like, no, you don't understand. It's random, and we got nothing. So I imagine it's going to be similar probabilities on this. I've not used this system, so I don't know exactly how it works, if you can prioritize your interests, or if there's any flexibility in that, or prioritization. But
well, and to be clear, we don't know that they're going to use the exact system they even used at Chicago,
right.
But this is just a guess that we're going to see something that's similar to what they used in Chicago, what D23 uses, what Comic-Con. And I've always said because I've gotten really lucky with some of this San Diego Comic-Con lottery, and won some really big prizes there in terms of, like, the opportunities to go to certain booths and stuff. And I still don't like it, because I always just feel like, well, I know these are a big deal to someone else, but ironically I got it and I didn't get something that I wanted even more, but it was just kind of a luck of the draw. So either way, though, you make the best of it, and there's so many things to do. Now, being a big floor person, that's easy for me to say, because I would be just ecstatic to spend every minute on the floor and never even go into a panel room. And so we'll see. But back in 2015, we got to see the Rogue One, or the panel where they highlighted and did kind of a teaser for Rogue One, which was really great. That was the one where they were supposed to have Josh Trank talking Boba Fett, the Boba Fett movie back in those days, but he was let off the project a couple days before, I guess, and they scratched that. We got to see Billy D. Williams. We got to see, they have a really nice production value with their panels. They put together a great stage. It's really nice to be able to head in there, and we would imagine those will be in the arena again, so you'll have that big kind of arena seating, which I believe is in the neighborhood of 4,000 or something along those lines, for those types of panels. So not quite a Hall H, but we'll see. They may use the other sections as well. D23, they make their own hall out of kind of similar to what Comic-Con does with Hall H, to kind of expand it even more, and they use that on top of the arena. So we'll see as rooms are assigned.
And I assume if there is a standby still option, like if you don't get the reservations for the panels you would want, but you can still do standby, or do you know?
I don't believe in 2019 that was allowed. No, I don't think that was part of 2019. I could be incorrect that, but I remember hearing a lot of complaints, and I think that was a portion of that. But yeah, we'll see. By the time this goes on to our audio feeds, it may be all revealed. Who knows? As we're talking about it here live on YouTube, it may already be announced. But I would imagine it's not going to be much longer until we know all of these details. So with that said, let's move to some other information that we know a fair amount about, and some exciting news there, and some maybe news to kind of adapt to. But the guest list, I mean, we know that we can expect, and one of the nice things about a D23 or Star Wars Celebration is because Disney is all over it, you know, we know they're going to have the people there that they want. You always wonder at, you know, these other places. We were just at WonderCon, and you're like, well, who's Warner Brothers going to bring to the Superman and Lois panel? But here, you know, like, there's no way Ewan McGregor's not going to take the stage to talk Kenobi. Like, they're going to want him there to talk Obi-Wan. And so, in addition to that, though, we have some guests here and their autograph prices and their photo prices. Now, I will say this up top, if you weren't familiar with it, Official Pics, which is in a lot of ways like the people that kind of created so much of like the big convention photo op and kind of signing experience, for whatever reason, I don't know if this was a shift with Disney taking over or stuff, but at some point there, Disney / Lucasfilm replaced them with Topps to run the autograph hall and the photos. Now, when we did in 2015, it was Official Pics. It was fantastic. It was very organized. We'll talk about that in a second. But I know that there was a lot of concerns about how Topps ran it. And I don't know, Topps is struggling, I know, as a company, just from other collecting stuff I do there and things, but they are not running. Official Pics is back. I know a lot of the autograph and photo collectors of the world celebrated hearing that. So they'll be running the hall. Now, back in 2015 when they ran it, they had a really great system, and you can already participate in this now, because you can go on Star Wars Celebration's website and you can buy an autograph or a photo right now. And what happens then is, as the convention comes, you get assigned a slot and you come back. So, for example, we got Ian McDiarmid, the Emperor Palpatine, and this at the time was only like, I want to say, his second or third American convention or something. Like, he did not do many signings at the time, and so he was like the big target for me of the weekend to get his autograph. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is going to be impossible, but it was actually quite simple. We bought the autograph in advance. We came to the convention center, and then, I don't know, maybe it was the second day of the convention, our number came up. We had a time frame. I think all in all waited maybe 45 minutes in line to get the signature, and this is the type of person that would be, some 8-hour, commitment or something. So they did a really good job of running that. So if you are looking for photos or autographs, that is the good news. Official Pics is running things. I think it's going to run really smooth. The bad news, if you're maybe like me, a little bit more like, yeah, I've loved to get these things in the past, but I haven't gotten them recently, and we have gotten some recently, but the price of these things has gone up pretty incredibly. The price of autographs has gone up, a decent amount. I know everything has in the world, so it's no surprise, but I've had to recalibrate my brain, because like the $20, $25 autograph people have become $40 people, and the $40 have become $60, and the $60 have become $80 or $100 and beyond. So as we look at the price of those autographs, so someone like Ian McDiarmid, who is a really tough autograph to get, though, he's charging $140 for his autograph, which is like really hard for me to wrap my brain around. I think the only that we ever paid for around the $100 mark was Mark Hamill and Patrick Stewart, and those both seem like, okay, these are like, two of the main people in their thing. And so, not that the Emperor is not a big deal, but it's not the same as Mark Hamill, and so it's a lot to kind of wrap the brain around there. But also, so let's say a Carrie Jones, that's one that I'm looking at. That's Black Chrysanthemum from the Book of Boba Fett. I love that character in the comics. I liked him pretty well in the TV show. I'd like to get Carrie Jones to sign something. He's charging $50. Okay, $60 for the photo. It's like, oh, he seems like a $30 guy, or something like that. So I got to calibrate in my own head. Ashley Eckstein's been the big, like, wow surprise, just because we got her signature several times. We talked about this with the WonderCon stuff for free at Comic-Con, but now she is charging almost more than anybody. So a photo with her is $155. The only other person to charge $155 is Ian McDiarmid. So the most expensive photo currently at Star Wars Celebration is either the Emperor or the voice for Ahsoka Tano. And so obviously Ahsoka's having a moment. She's had a moment for a long time. It's a big deal there that she's charging that much. And for an autograph, it's $125.
Which is the same that Anthony Daniels is charging.
Yeah, so C-3PO. So, and times have changed, obviously. Like, being a 70s kid, for me, it's hard to ever think of any of the people from the animated universe or the prequels even charging the same or more than the original trilogy, but that's obviously not the case at all. I mean, there's a lot of people that's that's their thing. But it is still hard for me to wrap my brain around those prices. But it's a hefty thing. I mean, I got Anthony Daniels here in 2015, and I believe it was 60, I want to say, at the time. So it's been a big increase there. But you're going to have Carl Weathers there. You're going to have Daniel Logan there. Junis, the new Chewbacca, is going to be there. A Chewbacca for a new generation. He's charging $65 to sign and $70 for photos. I know Giancarlo Esposito is there. I thought that was a really, considering the world we live in, autograph price of $95, I thought was pretty reasonable, all things considered. And so he's another one that's going to be on the guest list there. You know, it's interesting too, like you have people like Dickie Beer who played Boba Fett, but he's never been like Boba Fett. Like that was always Jeremy Bulloch, but now that Jeremy Bulloch's died, it's almost like they move up in the standing of like, okay, well now you're the Boba Fett of the show, you know, or Daniel Logan is the Boba Fett of the show now. And so it's just, you know, a lot for, I think, old school people to wrap their brain around some of these things. But, you know, if you're going to do the signings, I think what you can count on is there's going to be a lot, or the photos, it's going to be run well. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that that's going to be consistent and run well. These people do it for a living. I feel like they know what they're doing. It is their biggest thing. Our friend Andrew pointed out on the YouTube Live also that they have the option even of sending in, so you don't even have to be at the con. You can send in and do signings, and they do those types of things, and we've seen them at other conventions where they'll do these private signings and stuff. I mean, it is what they do as a company for a living, and so I think it'll run, you know, pretty well. Katie Sackhoff's going to be there. I think she was $100, I believe, price. So there's going to be some great ones to have in there. I guess the ones I'll have to think of, so like Tim Rose, you know, Admiral Akbar. It's like, oh, I'd like to get that. It's like, oh, $60, and I'm like, no, that seems like it's a $40, you know, price in my brain at least. And so we'll see if you know, those are ones that we end up picking up or not. But I'm glad to hear. I will say this: I haven't bought. Yes, so Katie Sackhoff is $100 to sign and $110 for photo. We have not bought any autographs so far, and I am thinking on it. So we'll see where we go with that. Oh, I did think it was interesting. So D. Bradley Baker, the voice of the clones, the voice of so many, you know, things in the animated universe, he's charging $80 to sign and $60 for a photo. So he kind of goes the reverse, which is how I am. Like, to me, it's all about the autograph, and I don't really care about photos. But I know for a lot of people, photos are the big thing, and autographs are kind of a thing of the past. And so I totally get that. But either way, should be run well. There should be a lot of opportunities there for autographs and for photos in the hall there. But do make sure to plan accordingly, because there's going to be a long wait list, and you got to keep an eye on when your time is going to be up, and it will be in a window, so there'll be options there. Also wanted to point out the art show is returning, and the art show submissions began back in September of 2013. All the concepts were due in December, so these artists have been working away at their stuff, and they are supposed to be kind of notified in the weeks ahead of like what is going forward, or at least that's kind of what the public information is. Maybe they already know this, but these are all Lucasfilm recognized artists already, and so there should be some great stuff on display. I know we've already seen some great art in terms of like the Celebration shop and some of those pre-sales for things and stuff like that, but also there should be some great things in addition coming for that art show.
According to the website, the final art itself was due by March 24th, so there was an elimination process, an application process, and then their final art was due in March, so that should all be totally set and stuff. So, but yeah, it'll be incredible stuff to look at, and yeah, they're official Lucasfilm approved artists, so
Yeah.
it won't be you know, like Artist Alley type of artists who are unofficial or in capacity or totally official. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be incredible stuff. So that'll be a cool thing. It probably won't be too long of a line at times.
No, I would imagine so. Not too bad there. Now, some things that we're waiting on that I'm really curious to see what develops. So we're waiting on a lot of panels, obviously, but particularly I'm curious about the collector's track. There's always a collector's track of panels that are very specific to toy collectors. There's usually swag attached to it, like a series, and it's always very cohesive of how it connects. Swag in general is a big thing at Celebration, kind of the way that like the ribbons are at anime conventions or at a Doctor Who convention, like Gallifrey 1. But at Star Wars Celebration, all the local clubs that are coming from across the country and across the globe bring their own swag, and a lot of times they only will trade their swag for other swag. So that's something that we won't even all see announced, but a lot of times that's some of the coolest stuff at Celebration that's a little bit off the grid. So if you make your way to the fan tables, you might want to ask them or check. They might have on display some of the stuff, even if they don't have it to give out. I mean, a lot of times these things are limited to like 20 pieces or 30 pieces, and they're not selling them, they're just trading them for other really cool swag. So those things, those fan tables, the the various droid builders, all of that are such a big part of Celebration. I mean, I feel like because it's such a cohesive effort of all of these different fan groups that all love Star Wars, every table ends up having something that you're really into. There's none that as a Star Wars fan you skip, because every single booth is just filled. The booths themselves, now going outside of that on the vendor side, the exhibit hall, I mean, you are going to see the most prolific displays of Star Wars memorabilia ever imaginable. I mean, I'm not just talking about, Steve Sansweet will be there from Rancho Obi-Wan with his, some pieces from his collection on display and stuff and all that, I know, but I'm talking about just even for sale. A lot of stuff that's museum type pieces where there's no way, anybody like me is ever going to buy them, but I do love seeing them on display there. But just tables filled with hundreds of thousands of dollars of figures. But my favorite thing, because then I can afford it, is a lot of the broken down stuff. And I mean, the broken down stuff was much more affordable in 2015 than I imagine it's going to be affordable here in 2022. But there were several like carded Star Wars figures that, like, one of my favorite figures I own is a broken down yellowed Chewbacca on a Return of the Jedi card, and his head burst through the top of the bubble, so it's cracked. And I know most people wouldn't want it. It's going to be trash to a lot of collectors, but it's the way that I'm able to own a Star Wars, vintage Chewbacca on a card, and so I'll take it. And so I'm hoping to find a little bit of that, hoping to find some, I mean, I don't know, I need this like original Leia blaster that sells for like $70 on eBay, and I'm like, is that the type of thing I'm going to buy here, is spend $100 on a little blaster, or $80 on a blaster? So I don't know, there's things like that. I would love to get a Kenner Death Star box. I have the Death Star, but I need the box. I'd love to pick that up. But again, a lot of these things are going to be a little bit more on the floor here, because this is not a cheap show to vend at. So all of the exhibitors here are having to put in some substantial money to get their stuff here from wherever they're coming in the world, and then to pay for the booth itself. So please remember that, as it doesn't do any good to look up eBay prices and kind of admonish them for why are they charging so much, because it just kind of is what it is. But there is something really special also about picking things up in person, and so I hope to see some of that. But we don't know what all of those booths will look like yet. Obviously, it's not been announced. The room sales are always a big part of Celebration. Collectors bring really unique stuff, really rare stuff, and some common stuff, but room sales that'll be going on in the hotels. The Hilton will have lots of doors open on various floors, I'm sure, and that's not going to be a sanctioned Star Wars Celebration thing, but that is going to be a big part of Star Wars Celebration for a lot of people. And you can wander into rooms and buy action figures off of people's beds, and that's always a really interesting vibe of, like, it feels like you're doing a drug deal or something, but not, because there's so many people doing it, and the halls are filled with Star Wars collectors.
Yeah, and I don't think we've ever actually participated in one of those, have we?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember wandering into people's rooms. Maybe you did that on your own. Oh, okay, so yeah, I have not done it, so it is kind of a...
Well, and they even had that like at the West Coast Toy Soldier Show. I mean, this isn't an uncommon thing for like collector-specific shows, but it's a big part of it. And I know there's a lot, like if you listen to a Star Wars Collectors Archive podcast, I mean, it's almost all, a lot of them will talk about their experience. So much of it is that, and that's a big part of it. Which, in that vein, a big thing I'm waiting on and I'm curious about is, will the Star Wars Collectors Archive have a party? Now, that is like the nerdiest of the parties that you could have, because it is a party for vintage Star Wars collectors. But I love that. We went in 2015. They had the goofiest, most fun, absurd games and things on display there. Poetry written on old card backs, old video game systems set up. In Orlando, they did a C-3POs, like the 1980s cereal eating contest, like they opened an old 80s cereal, just goofy, funny, silly stuff, but a group of people that are so into Star Wars collecting, and I really love that experience. That said, having not heard anything about them having a party here in April, I'm kind of guessing that's not happening. Rebel Force Radio, one of the biggest Star Wars podcasts, they have announced they are having a party, and it's actually right across the street from Disneyland. It's on the 25th, the night before. I believe it's $75 per person, and they seem pretty sure that they're going to sell out, so that might be something if you're looking for kind of a pre-show, before the show begins on the Thursday. That's going to be going on. They're going to do a live podcast, I believe, recording at 7 p.m. And then as long as weather's permitting, Disneyland will have its fireworks at 9 p.m. Then they'll wrap the party up at 10 p.m. So there's going to be that. Disneyland is having some of their, their Star Wars, one of their Star Wars nights, or two of their Star Wars nights. I think Friday night is one of their Star Wars nights. So that's going to be going on. One of my favorite after-hours things from Celebration was them showing the original films and just watching the original films in a room filled with people that love the original films. There was something really cool about sitting in a dark, kind of movie theater on the convention center that was just filled with people that love this stuff as much as we all, and everybody laughing at the same time and cheering at the same time. And it's really hard to know what the nights are going to look like, because we know there's going to be some really cool stuff in the after hours portion as well, but we don't know what yet. And I think with the pandemic, it just kind of slowed all those announcements, and as we sit here, we're still waiting on all of that. And I think the last thing I have on my list of things that I'm really curious about that I had a lot of fun with was the swap meet. They did the swap meet, and this has been kind of a celebration tradition where anybody, and so we participated in this, as we just brought a bag of some Star Wars stuff and sat down on the floor in the upstairs area. They had a room, and the room was like filled to the brim with people, so we just sat outside and put like Star Wars vinylmations on the ground and some comic books and things like that, and just like a swap meet, except everything was Star Wars collectibles there. And I was just entranced by the stuff people were selling. And because everybody there is not paying for a booth, like it's free to the public to do it, nobody's having that little escalation in price. So like we made some decent money just selling stuff that to us was kind of Disneyland junk, to be honest. It was Star Wars, it was Star Wars stuff that we easily picked up at Disneyland, that was modern things. It was just kind of like whatever. But people were there from Kansas, from Germany, whatever, and they were super excited to see, a Stormtrooper vinylmation or whatever that we had 3 of sitting at home. And so I'm really hoping that's back. It's a lot of fun. In the past, I believe it's only been that one night, and it's been pretty short, like an hour to 2 hours, something like that. But I literally put a bag aside like 2 years ago of stuff that I'm like, okay, this is stuff I'm going to bring to Star Wars Celebration to sell the swap meet if they have it. So if they don't have it, we do not have a room here where we could do part of the room sales, so maybe we can go in someone else's room and lay some stuff on the bed and sell it that way. But it really is the same idea of the hotel room sales, really, in the end. So those are all things I'm really looking forward to hearing more about, hearing announcements, seeing what comes of those things. The cosplay, of course. I don't know, anything else that you're looking forward to that either is going to be announced or maybe not announced about the event?
I am more of a panels person, so I'm looking forward to getting that schedule and stuff, obviously. But it just feels like another situation where we're going to be able to catch up with friends that we haven't seen in a while, and so definitely looking forward to that. But it feels kind of weird that it's at this point relatively close, but not quite here yet, so we don't quite know as much as we might want to know. So it feels a little bit like we're kind of sitting at that starting line waiting for the starting pistol or whatever to let us go start the planning, because it's like we're kind of like just antsy, kind of waiting for the information and stuff. And so we'll see. But we do have a room nearby. I don't think it's a place we've ever stayed before, because I think by the time I got under, our usual spots were already taken from their hotel sales, and I believe those are sold out, so I don't think that link is even really available, accessible on the website. So I don't know what rooms are available at this point going outside of the system, but I'm just kind of just anxious for all that information and stuff to get out there, so we can kind of solidify plans a little bit more. So just be cool to be back here at one of our types of conventions and stuff, because it is kind of different being here. There are conventions, but there are other kind of conventions. So definitely be cool to be back.
And if you are on the fence about Star Wars Celebration at all, for any of the reasons, I would say we have no clue when the next time we'll have a celebration in California will be. And so it has been 7 years, and when we left Celebration 2015, I'm like, okay, we got to do this every year, even if it means going to Orlando, because it's so awesome. And we're all about going to things and covering all these cons, and it's been even 7 years for us. Now, obviously, there's been a pandemic in the middle of it, so that's made it, different. But point being is, this is one con that I think you really got to soak up every minute. Try to be, I know for me, it's like, I don't want to leave till they kick the last person off the floor, because once it's over, it's always hard for me to wait a year for the next San Diego Comic-Con. But this one, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. Hopefully it's not that long. But if the pandemic taught us anything, too, is that nothing's guaranteed, and you never know if you even get some of these things back. So, even if you were kind of thinking, like, listening in, and you're like, well, I'm not sure, there's still Thursday tickets. I would highly suggest, if you have any interest in Star Wars, even if it's just the animated side, or it's only the sequels trilogy, or it's only the, whatever your thing is, I think there'll be stuff. Even if it's only the publishing side, the High Republic stuff, I think is great. And if that's your only interest, I think there'll be a lot of stuff for you here as well that weekend. So definitely try to check it out if you can. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and wrap up here. We do have some events that we want to highlight here on our calendar. As always, over at parksandcons.com on the homepage, Carmel is always updating and adding events there, so you can always check it out to see if there's anything you're interested in, or if you're just kind of curious what we'll be covering next. Not that we hit everything on that calendar, but we try to hit a lot of the stuff on the calendar. So for us, the next kind of big thing, we got San Diego Comic Fest coming up April 21st to the 24th. Really excited to get back to that show. That was the last show we attended before everything shut down in 2020. So that's going to be really surreal to go back there and experience that. Spooky Swap Meet, a fun Halloween vibe there. That's April 29th through May 1st. Fangia, we've never been to this convention. It's down in San Diego. It's April 30th. We really know very little about it. So that is something that I'm definitely going to need to check out there. Let's see. SoCal Joe Show returning May 1st. Free Comic Book Day. I gotta say, I am super excited about Free Comic Book Day. We always do a crawl for that. We haven't been able to do it for several years. I'm so excited to just get in the car. We haven't even decided where we're going, but just visit a bunch of comic shops and see people celebrating comics that day. That's May 7th. Disney Anna Show comes May 15th. Robo Toy Fest also on the 15th. Not Summer Nights kicks off on the 20th. Comic-Con Revolution, one of the best pure comic shows around. That's returning to the Ontario Convention Center May 21st to 22nd. And then that very next weekend is Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, May 26th through the 29th. If you've not already done so, please consider checking out our Parks and Cons crew. We greatly appreciate all the support they give there on Patreon. We have bonus content there as well. Please check it out if you are so inclined. Also, we want to thank everybody that tuned in live, everybody that supports on YouTube, that shares things on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is. If you share that, we greatly appreciate it. Reviews on the podcast feeds is greatly appreciated. Every single ounce of support is deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. You can always follow along with us in real time at Parks and Cons on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube. Wrapping up here at the Anaheim Convention Center. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.